Well, a very good morning to Unity of Augusta. It's so nice to see everyone here, and welcome if you're joining online. I seem to have forgotten a few things. Emma, would you give me my notes, please? Yes. Thank you so much. And does anybody have a Bible nearby?
Yes.
Bible? Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, and a glass of water. My throat is very dry. Ah, there it is, thank you, thank you. All right, thank you for that. Ask, and it is given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. For anyone who asks receives. To those who seek, they find. And to anyone who knocks, the door is opened. Today, I received everything that I asked for. I didn't ask for a lot of things, but I received it all. And these are the things to remember when we ask. We need to remember that I, you, all of us, we are eternal souls. We're in this physical form, and we're gifted the privilege of being here and now. And that is a privilege. I, you, all of us, we can never, ever be separate from our source. Creator and creation can never be separate from one another. By consciously choosing the direction of our thoughts, we can be aware and in constant connection with that source. Those moments that we feel separate or are doing, and we don't have to experience that. But we need to work at keeping that constant connection for ourselves. We can reawaken the clarity and the goodness and the truth by being aware. And sometimes we live in that flow of connection. Who's felt that? Yes, everybody has. And we know when we're there. We know because it's undeniable. We can feel the energy and everything's moving. And sometimes we kind of step out of that flow. Notice the words. We step out of that flow. And there's many reasons that we do that. It's easy to get distracted by the ways of the world. It's easy to get distracted by families and jobs and the news, everything. We step out of that flow. And there's times in life when everything is happening in perfect synchronicity. Perhaps you bought a home, and the very first home you saw, you loved and put an offer on it, and your offer was accepted. The inspections went smoothly and perfectly. All the minor repairs were done on time. You scheduled the closing. The financing was arranged, and the closing happened on the exact day at the same exact time without a hitch. Everybody showed up, documents signed, everybody went their way, and it was done. You felt like you were really in the flow of that really significant experience. And have you ever had a time in life when you felt like life was such a challenge? To why even bother reaching for that goal, that dream? It was just too hard. For me, it was about 2 years that I thought that I wanted to be the regional marketing director for the company that I worked for. So I prepared myself. I made sure that I had all the skills I needed in sales and marketing, in the world of senior care, so that I would be the obvious candidate. And when the position opened, I wasn't invited to interview. So about 72 of my feelings were hurt. Imagine, I had spent all of this time preparing myself, and here I wasn't invited to interview. And the job stayed open for quite a while, months. And finally I spoke to my regional marketing director and I said, hey, I would really love this job. Would like to interview for it. So I was interviewed and nothing happened. Months went by and I still wasn't offered the position. I thought. The truth of the matter is that I was out of flow. I wanted to be considered for that position, not because it was my life dream, not because it was a passion that I had. For me, it was just the next logical step in the progression of my career in long-term care. The fact was, I reveled in the time that I had in the communities with the residents. I loved being with them and their families. I loved being part of an integral part of a staff that cared for people. And if I was in a regional marketing position, I would be so far removed from that, it would be difficult to experience that. I would be out of integrity with my truth. I was not offered that job. Until about 3 weeks after I had accepted a job to go to Dallas. Then my company came to me and said, Karen, we would like you to be our regional marketing director. Well, I had already committed to move to Dallas. And in Dallas, life unfolded in perfect harmony, in perfect flow with the divine. So when we step out of that flow, we step out of integrity with our truth, with our most deeply held intentions. And that's what's really important for us, is being in harmony with our intentions. And that's why I share that story of being in and out of the flow. Those desires of our heart, those true desires, our innate being. I loved being with the people. They fed my soul, and I hope that I impacted them too. So in that process, I was reminded that the universe always has my good. That the universe always and supports and honors that deep, true intention that's in me, even if my human mind forgets. The universe responds to that. I also remember that well-being is the foundation of the universe. Harmony and stability is the foundation of the universe. So we just need to relax, take a breath, and move into it. Just like our breathing. We don't have to think about our breathing. No one has said, okay, I'm going to take a breath now. I'm going to take a breath now. It just happens and we live. And the same is with that spiritual flow. Pay attention to it and move with it. And then we ask this question. Do you know how beloved and how blessed and how adored you are? Does anybody in here really recognize how loved you are? The depth of your love. Do you recognize how blessed you are and how adored you are by that energy of the universe? Catherine Ponders, who you may have heard of, writes in The Prospering Power of Love, you walk in the charmed circle of God's love, and you are divinely irresistible to your highest good. Just take that in. You walk in the charmed circle of God's love. You are divinely irresistible to your highest good. Oh my goodness, what affirmation that is for life. I am divinely irresistible to my good. Can you say that? I am divinely irresistible to my good. Wow, you can't help but attract it unless you reject it. Ask and it is given. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For to all who ask, receive. All who seek shall find. And all who knock, the door will be open. We hear that scripture. It's not the first time anyone here has heard it. We hear it often. So how is it that we ask? Today, I asked with my words for a Bible and water and my notes, and I received it all. I wonder how much and what else I could have asked for and still received all of it. We ask in more subtle ways as well as by our voice. We ask with our thoughts. We ask with our beliefs. We ask with those desires of our heart that never get spoken. And the things that we want, we ask. And sometimes we might wonder, why is it taking so long for me to get what I want? Ever say that? Yes. Well, as I learned, what I said I wanted wasn't what I really wanted. So in their book, Ask and It Is Given, Esther and Jerry Hicks say, it's not because we don't want something enough. It's not because we're not intelligent enough. It's not because we're not worthy. And it's not because fate is against us. And it's not because someone else has claimed our good, because there is plenty of good to go around. There's more than enough good for all of us to live the goodness. What they say is that the reason that we're not getting what we say we desire is because we're holding ourselves in a vibrational pattern that is inconsistent, out of harmony with what we desire. Everything has a vibrational pattern to it. Our thoughts are energy, and they have a vibrational frequency. We, as beings, are energy. We have a physical vibration to us. Think of the word love. What do you feel? You feel a certain way when you hear love. It's a little bit or a lot different when you feel anger, right? Love and anger are, they don't have the same frequency. They might have the same intensity, but they don't have the same feeling and frequency. Have you ever been with a person and said, oh, I really like their vibe? Or have you ever said, oh, I'm not going back to that place. It has a really odd vibe to it. We've all felt that. That's the energy that we transmit. That's the energy of our thinking and believing. So the great news is that we can be attuned to our vibrational frequency by knowing what we're thinking. And the really great news, the greatest news, is that we can shift our energy to be in harmony with our desires. And while we remember that we can never be separate from our source, we can be a little off-center. We can be out of alignment with our desires, with our true nature, with our truth. We can be out of harmony with that. I might zigzag my way through life. We've all had times of life that we suddenly end up where we want to be. Quite coincidentally, we've taken a detour, we've taken a rough road to get there, so to speak. I may trip myself up, get caught up in distractions. You know, life is very sensory, and there's a lot that can draw our attention away. And then we can also get stuck in the thoughts of what we have been taught to believe about ourselves that may not be true. And all of these things cause our manifestation of our divine to take a little longer. Those things that we want to achieve, our spiritual journey, whatever it is. And we often refer to this as resistance. So you might say, why on earth would I resist what I say I want? Why would I resist that? Habit. We have a habit of being the victim. We have the habit of rejection. We have a belief system that we do not deserve what is in our heart. We might believe what we've been told by society, by institutions, by teachers. We often hear of wildly successful people who were told as a child by a teacher or someone that, they might not be quite skilled, or that their dream might not be their true talent. Kobe Bryant was told that in elementary school. We're told things that aren't our truth, and sometimes we get caught in them. In her book, Laws of Love, Unity Minister Reverend Margaret Pounders says, we have within our consciousness two marvelous powers that inevitably bring us to whatever we choose. The first is the power of decision, and the second is the power of desire. Decision is the activity of our thinking. And when we decide what we want, that's the first step towards creating that positive pattern to take us there. And if we have a clear picture of what we want, we're well on our way to achieving it, she says. However, if we have only a vague picture of what we want, then that's what the universe will provide, something vague. If we don't decide, the world will decide for us. So we need to be clear in our decision. And once we reach the decision, we cut away what we do not want and make room for what we do want. We cut it away, all those things that we don't want. And Margaret goes on to explain that non-resistance is an attitude. It isn't about what we do or how we do it. It's about how we feel when we're going through tasks and activities. And anyone that has raised a teenager, or anyone who has ever been a teenager, knows about attitude. There's laughter. Yeah. Either you've raised or you know yourself. Every experience in our life has options, and we get to choose how we walk through the experience. Perhaps in our work, a boss might present us with a special project that requires more time than we think we have to accomplish it. Maybe that project infringes on our personal time. We can rearrange our life and go ahead and do that project and be done with it. We might tell our boss that's not fair, I don't like that, or we might even quit our job. We might grumble our way through the whole duration of the project until it's done. It's all different attitudes. Some are going to leave us feeling really down, victimized, negative. And if we just change our mind and do whatever is before us, it's easy. And we can remember Corinthians 16:14. Let all you do be done in love. Let all you do, whether it's making your bed in the morning or making breakfast for yourself, whether it's tending to the needs of your family, if you don't feel love, don't do it. Don't make a bed grudgingly, because that's the energy you're going to climb into at the end of that day. Don't make breakfast grumbling, because that's the energy you're putting into your body as you take in that food. Let all you do be done with love. Now that doesn't mean you don't make your bed or you don't eat. That means you pause and you shift from whatever it is that's frustrating, distracting, annoying, whatever thing or person is that for you, shift. Consciously choose to guide your mind to a place of love. You can do that in an instant. You can just say it. I choose love. And then make your breakfast, because then you're taking in that beautiful energy and vibration of love, and that's how you'll move in your day. It's a choice. It's all a choice. We have all of these emotions, and our emotions are a great indication of our alignment with Source. And if you're not feeling love, peace, joy, and harmony, guess what? We're out of alignment. That's our first sign, and we know that. Nobody has to tell us. We know it, we feel it. And if you're here in a spiritual practice, you've practiced enough to say it quickly. Oh my gosh, I'm not feeling it today. Then you pause. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the world to pause. Put yourself in alignment with the divine and then move forward. It might take 10 or 15 minutes, but guess what? You're going to make up that 10 or 15 minutes on the sheer joy of being in every place you are that day. So how many times do we follow that feeling when we feel that uneasiness in the pit of our stomach? That is our discernment. That is the seat of judgment that tells us we're following spirit or we're not. When we feel that nudge, you feel it in your gut. You've moved forward having a gut feeling that you were doing the right thing? Yes? You've moved forward with that gut feeling, knowing full well that was not the right thing to do. But you do it anyway. We've all been on both sides of that. That's our judgment. That's our ability to evaluate and assess and discern. And then we apply what we know. And we know intellectually. We know intuitively. Ask, and it is given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. For to those who ask, receive. To those who seek, they shall find. And for those who knock, that door will be opened. So Esther and Jerry Hicks share that there are 3 steps to attracting our good. The first one is to be done by us. It is to ask. So when we get clear about what our spiritual journey is to be, when we invite the divine to guide us, when we move consciously from that space of our truth, nobody else's truth, because what is mine is not yours, Peter, or yours, Steve, or anybody else's. We all have our own. Now, everybody will have an opinion about our decisions, about our journey. And they are only that, opinions. We can listen, but we listen first, and we listen last to that voice inside. So we ask. That's ours to do. And the second step is the answer is given, and that's the universe, God, divine mind, infinite intelligence, love. That's the job of God to do. So we sit in that space while we hear and see the path that we're to follow. And the third step is the answer. The answer is given, and we must be willing to receive it, to know what is ours to do. So we ask and we desire. It's part of who we are. We're all born with desires for everything in life. Our desire comes from our interaction with the world. Did you see a fancy car on the way to church this morning? Or in the last week, did you see a car and say, whoa, I would like to have a car like that? Or maybe it was a bicycle or a motorcycle or something else. I would really like to have something like that. It's the world that stimulates our desires. And our experience is that in order to ask, to know what to ask for, I need to become present to what is inside here, what is in my inner realm, what's speaking to me. And it moves beyond the material things of life. And those things are all nice and wonderful. We all like the material comforts of life. But this is our purpose. This is our life. I need to be awake and aware to what I'm feeling. And that might be helpful for you too. So, as I'm awake and aware to that spiritual guidance, I can step forward in confidence. And I'm clear about my intention. I'm really clear about what I feel guided to do in life in order to gain that spiritual understanding. I need to be present to what's happening around me and within me. So asking is sometimes with the spoken word, as it was this morning. But more often, it emanates from us in the vibration that we carry, that constant stream of our most deeply held intentions, our beliefs. So if there are beliefs that need to be massaged and healed, give yourself the time to do that. And I want to say a couple words about belief. And if I say I want financial prosperity, but if I don't believe I deserve it, or if I'm fearful of how I might use prosperity if it comes my way, am I going to use it in prudent ways? Then I'm likely not to experience financial prosperity, because all this thinking is getting in the way of the flow of that prosperity. That goes for us as individuals. That goes for this as a spiritual community. That goes for the city of Augusta, that thinking. It's on every level. If we say our intention is we want this, but our beliefs, our collective beliefs are against that, we're not going to receive it. Think of something that you've achieved and attained in your life. Think of a rich relationship that came your way. Somewhere in your thinking or your believing, you thought and you felt and you believed that you deserved that love, that great job, that person to come into your life to enrich your life and you enrich theirs. So we believed it. So we ask, and then the universe answers. And then finally we receive. And we allow it in. This is a big part of ours to do, aligning our thinking and our believing with what we want. We say it over and over again. And sometimes we think that we're thinking about what we want. But our words say something differently. We might say, I don't want to be sick. Did anybody say that during the time of COVID that it was pretty scary? I don't want to be sick. We could be saying, I want good health. We often say, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be broke. We could be saying, I want financial freedom. I want abundance in all parts of my life. And rather than saying, I don't want to be lonely or alone, we could say, I want the right relationship to come my way that's nurturing and uplifting. You see the difference in the way we say those things. It's a different vibration. I don't want sickness. I want health and well-being. And now we know the steps. And then we get to practice. And as we practice, we call this the spiritual law of attraction. We know that we attract to ourselves what we hold in our mind. Our beliefs were once merely gentle thoughts that we fed. And as we fed them, they became our belief and our habits, and it's what we experience in life. Being aware of our thoughts and guiding them, they're creative in our life. And we create our lives by our thinking. Steve spoke this morning when he shared our third unity principle. We create our lives by the activity of our thinking. The thoughts that we hold in mind produce more of the same kind. Whether they be uplifting, elevated, loving thoughts, or whether they be depleted, unhappy, downward thoughts. They tend to produce more. Do you ever have one of those days where you grasp onto a negative thought and oh my goodness, down you go. As the day goes on, you go further down. And conversely, you have that day that you wake up and the birds are singing, the sun is shining, and all is well in your world. And you hold that thought, and that thought elevates you throughout the whole day. Two totally different days and experiences you'll have. So when we ask, do we deeply expect to receive? Are our arms open? Do we go to the well with a thimble or a barrel? When we ask, and when we seek, do we really believe that we're going to find the gift? Do we really believe that we're going to find it? And do we recognize the gift when it arrives? You might have a vision of receiving the gift that's wrapped in a blue package with a red ribbon, and a pink package with a green ribbon shows up, and you don't recognize it. Or a box comes that's crumpled and torn and smashed, and that's where the gift is, but we don't recognize it because it's not pretty and perfect like we put in our mind. But the gift is in all of those things. Sometimes the most challenging experience can be the greatest gift. So when we seek, be willing to find and recognize, be open to recognize it. And when we knock, do we believe that door is going to open for us? Or is that door opening for everybody else but us? Do we believe that door will open? And when that door opens, are we willing to step across the threshold? Are we willing to take that step to our good? Ask, and it is given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. For anyone who asks receives. To those who seek, they will find. And to all who knock, the door is open. So let's take those thoughts into a time of contemplation and meditation. So finding yourself comfortable wherever you are, breathe into this space, to this time, to the perfection of the here and now. Allow yourself to feel the seat beneath you. Know and trust that it supports you. Relax your body. Allow your shoulders to drop and be free of any tension. Allow your face to soften and the corners of your mouth to turn upward. Gently notice the energy that flows through you. And allow yourself to become profoundly aware of your connection to Source, to God, to the universe. And allow that energy to rise in you. Feeling the fullness of the presence. Hold a vision of yourself as you ask. Imagine laying the desires of your heart on the altar. Lay your desires on the altar of life. Allow your imagination to carry you into the experience of receiving. Notice the feelings that flow. Seize your surroundings as you take in being the recipient of your most deeply held desires, dreams, and intentions. Hear the sounds. Take in the aromas. Open your arms with full faith and knowing that you are receiving all the goodness that is yours to have. All the goodness that your heart can hold. All the goodness that your life can experience. Imagine yourself seeking and finding the joy and beauty of life. Notice the feeling of finding all that the deepest parts of you long for. And observe as you knock. Watch the door as it opens. And hold the vision of yourself stepping across the threshold. Hear these words from your heart. I ask and I receive. I seek and I find. I knock. The door is opened. It is already so, and we allow it to be. Amen.